The largest investment, the largest expenditure that the average family makes is your home, real estate. It is therefore the largest possible blessing and the largest mess you can make. Buying it wrong, buying at the wrong time, not knowing what you're doing. And yet everyone says, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. As soon as you get like 4 years old, they start telling you to buy a house. If you are renting, oh, Lord, you can't be a renter. Oh, renters are awful. Don't be a renter. Renters are bad. You don't want to be a renter, right? And you don't want to be a renter for the scope of your life, but there are times in your life when renting makes more sense than owning. And one of those times is when you're brand new and you're broke and you're young and you don't have any money. When broke people buy houses, you know what it makes them? Broker. That's why they call them mortgage brokers. You get broker and broker and broker. When you're broke and you buy a house, Murphy moves in your spare bedroom. You know, that's the guy, if it can go wrong, it will. And he brings his 3 cousins, broke, desperate, and stupid, with him. The hot water heater goes out. The roof leaks. The dog gets run over in the street. Your life looks like a country song, you know? And it's what happens when you're broke and you buy a house. House is not a blessing for broke people. Because actually the month to month, month in and month out, it can be more expensive to own than to rent. Because if that $4,000 heat and air system goes out and you're a renter, you call the landlord and go, dude, your heat and air system's out. And they just send somebody magically over there to fix it, don't they? Isn't that interesting? But otherwise, you got to wring your hands and come up with $4,000. And that's very real stuff. So, to start with, let's just establish when it comes to real estate that renting is not a bad thing when you have a plan to get yourself together financially. You need to be out of debt. You need to have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. Then save up your down payment. But a lot of people get all hot and bothered and they say stupid stuff like, well, this is stupid. If you've ever said this, you were stupid. I've said it. I was stupid. When I said it, I was stupid. And when you said it, you were stupid. Are you ready for this? Well, you know, the house payment's the same as a rent payment, so why wouldn't I own? See, that's stupid. Because you left out the $4,000 heat and air system. You left out the taxes go up and the insurance goes up. And you left out ... And so, you know, it's really not cheaper. And it is in the long run because houses go up in value. And in the long run, the payment, if you take a good fixed rate mortgage, doesn't go up and rent does go up. So in the long run, owning is a good idea. But on the short term, for the first year you own, it's cheaper to rent. Most cases anyway. Well, you can't find people start coming around, they start throwing around all these absolute fatalism crap and like I was forced. There's just nothing in this whole city. Like your city is weird or something. Your city's, I mean, it's just everybody's got a place to rent. So when you buy and you put the house on a 15-year fixed rate mortgage, you basically have a forced savings plan. That's one of the benefits of owning. You also have, because, you know, as you're paying the principal down, you've got this money built into the house called equity. Your equity is what the house is worth minus what you owe on it. And the equity increases as you pay down the mortgage, obviously. It's also an inflation hedge. Now, most of you have not lived in inflationary times, but I remember inflationary times. When I got my real estate license in 1978, inflation was running 12% a year on houses. That meant a house went up 1% a month in cost or value. Cost if you were a buyer, value if you were a seller, right? And so if you own property and inflation kicks in, the primary element of inflation is housing. There's other stuff, car gas and the cost of bread and that kind of stuff. But really, the cost of housing is your primary element. It's one of the largest chunks of inflation, and you are getting that to your benefit when you're an owner. And, of course, your home grows tax-free up to $500,000. It's a tax-free investment. $500,000 married filing jointly is the profit you can make on a personal residence if you've owned it 2 years or more. That's pretty cool. So there's a lot of reasons to buy. When you get ready to buy, don't buy the top of the neighborhood. Buy the bottom range, the bottom half of the neighborhood. You'll get better appreciation there and a better chance of resale when you do get ready to move. And when I took my very first appraisal class in the real estate business, the guy teaching the class said there's 3 things that create value in real estate: location, location, and location. I've seen a single-wide mobile home sitting on a piece of dirt that brought over $1 million in Malibu, just north of L.A. Yeah. And some of your really, really nice houses aren't worth $1 million. So that's all about the location. Now, it wasn't the mobile home that did that. It was the piece of dirt. It's freaking Malibu's expensive, you know. Per square foot, there's nothing more expensive in the U.S. right now than Manhattan. And so those of you that are our friends listening in New York, you got location, location, location. When you're picking out a home, if you can find something with a view, it's up on a little bit of a rise, a little bit of a hill, or in the case of Tennessee, or those of you out in the Rockies, up on a big hill, that view is worth. You ever heard of $1 million view? Yeah, that's where that saying comes from. People pay extra for a view, and if you're on or near the water. We have a little neighborhood right here just down the street from our office that's been there since I was a kid. It's 100 years old, you know. It's called Meadow Lake. Now, the lake is no more a lake than Flight of the Moon. It's a freaking pond, okay? It's a little bitty pond, but it's called a lake because this builder built houses around it a bazillion years ago. The houses on one side of the street are, quote, on the lake. The houses on the other side of the street are not on the lake. You would not believe how much more the ones on this pond, lake, bring more than the ones across the street. If you've ever bought real lakefront property or beachfront property, you know, if you're across the street from the house that's on the beach or across the street, it's a whole lot cheaper. There's a reason. On the water or with a view, anytime you can sneak into your equation, you're going to see better appreciation. And stand in the street and look at the house and go, is this house just really ugly? Has it got bad bones? Has it got bad curb appeal? Don't buy an ugly house. It's not going to get prettier because you move in it. I have bought some ugly houses, and you know what? When you get ready to sell them, they're still ugly houses. They don't go up in value. If it's ugly, it's just ugly, all the way to the bone. You know, so just use some sense when you're doing this stuff. We'll talk just a little bit more, and then we'll take your calls and talking real estate this half hour. So we're talking about the largest investment most people ever make, the real estate purchase. Now, I've bought probably over 2,000 pieces of property in my life, over 1,500 for sure, somewhere in there. I currently own a bunch of real estate. I love real estate as an investment. I built several homes and grew up in the real estate business, got my real estate license when I turned 18 years old, 3 weeks after I turned 18, way back in 1978. Yep. So, so I've done a bunch of real estate deals, and to me, it's all just a house. I don't really get all torqued out about certain pieces of dirt. Some people get all twisted up about dirt or a certain piece of property or, you know, that kind of a thing. I mean, there's things that I'm nostalgic about for sure, and thinking about, but you know, it's just a house, and there's one on every corner. They're everywhere, and there's another one. So you need to just slow down and not get house fever when you're buying, and you get all stressed out. Like right now, people are running around there. You know, there's like multiple offers coming on a listing because some of these markets are white hot, and people get stupid. Just slow down. It's the largest purchase you're ever going to make for most people is a piece of real estate. And you're going to spend more money there than you spend anywhere else. Slow down. A good rule of thumb on any decision making is this: the small little dinky decisions that you make in life, make them fast. And then that leaves you bandwidth emotionally and time-wise and everything else to spend time on the large decisions. You know, people get in line to buy, they can't decide whether to buy Eclipse gum or buy, you know, Dentine. And they get all paralysis of the analysis about their breath or something. It takes them 30 minutes to make a decision on gum. And then on the way home, they impulse a car. You know? See, that's backward. it's gum. You're not going to be pretty when you chew it anyway. You're just you. So shut up. Get the gum. It's just gum, and then slow down on these big decisions. So when you're buying a house, do not buy the top of the neighborhood. I just had a discussion with one of my leaders, stopped by my office a while ago, said she was looking at a new home, a really nice property, and just concerned about the neighborhood, wondered what I thought about it. It's a great neighborhood. I think she'll do great there. But my first question is, you're not buying the top of the market. Don't buy the top of the market in that neighborhood. Don't buy the most expensive home in the neighborhood because it's harder to sell. People are not looking for that house, that price range when they go to that neighborhood. They're looking for a notch or two down. And you want to be in that notch or two down. You'll get better appreciation and have a better chance of selling it when you do that. And remember, like we said before the break, there's 3 things that affect property values: location, location, and location. And in every city, there are those invisible lines. You ever hear somebody say, I grew up across the tracks? On the other side of the railroad is that railroad track was an invisible line. And on one side of the railroad was where the poor people were, and on the other side was where they weren't. And that's what they mean by across the tracks, right? And so that's what you're looking at. And you don't know where those tracks are if it's a city you don't know. I mean, you can look around sometimes. There's some telltale signs the way the neighborhood is kept up or something. But I grew up in a neighborhood where it was nice brick homes built in the 60s, typical suburban neighborhood. And these houses, when I was 16 years old, they were selling for $45,000. Now they'd sell for $145 probably, or $180 or something like that. But say they were selling for $45,000. Strangest thing, the exact same house, same time frame built, actually a little bit older, was right across the main drag a mile away. There's a main drag, a main artery of traffic running north and south through our city. And on one side of that artery, that same house brought $5,000 less, which is 10% less. It'd be $51,000 on one side of the artery and $45,000 on the other. It's 10% swing, but square footage, the items that you find in the home, the quality of construction, the age, everything was very, very similar. The only difference was one was on one side of the road and one was on the other, and it was perceived, for whatever reason, to be slightly cooler to be on that side of the street. And people would pay for it. And people pay for it because people paid for it. And that's how locations enters into this. And again, we said be near water when you can, and be near a view or with a view or on the water when you can. You're always going to see much better returns there and have a much more likelihood of selling there. You're buying bargains. When you're buying a house, you look for things that people can't look past. The average buyer can't look past the minor things. And minor things are things you can fix easily, like carpet or paint color or a gutter hanging off. You can put a set of gutters on a house for nothing. And I hope I find the gutter hanging off and the weeds are tall. Oh, darn. Buy a lawnmower, and get a deal on the property, and you can buy like a whole truckload of lawnmowers for what you save on this property. Matter of fact, you could hire people to cut the grass for you with what you save on the property, right? So, take things like that. I used to go into a property. I would love seeing something that was very poorly decorated, or it was a mess. The lady didn't keep house well. That means there was a bargain, because the typical person can't look past the unmade beds and the Elvis print over the master bedroom bed, And you remember the old 1970s green shag carpet? We actually had rakes that we raked the carpet. Do y'all remember that? Yeah, I used to look for that rakeable carpet because that meant it was old, right? And and it was nasty usually. And you could put carpet in a house for nothing compared to getting a bargain on the house. Now, I want a deal. I'm talking substantial discount. But these are all aesthetic things, paint, carpet, that kind of thing. Even a roof, you can put a roof on a house. Most of the time, that's not that killer. All right, here's the one I love in the South. It's got termites! And people just pass out and flop on the floor and foam at the mouth and everything else. It's crazy. Let me just tell you, there's termites everywhere in the South. It's humid, and they're everywhere. And you need a termite letter, and you want to make sure the house hadn't been torn down by termites. But again, I've owned almost 2,000 pieces of property. The number of times I've seen a house that was completely destroyed by termites, that someone just didn't notice the house was falling down, is almost zero. But I have bought deals on houses because people got emotional. It's got termite infestation. It cost me $3,000 to fix 5 boards. And I bought the house $40,000 or $50,000 off because everybody got emotional about a couple of white bugs. Spray the crap out of them with a termite company and replace 4 boards and put an exterminator in there. It's not that big a deal. It's not. Now, again, inspect it, make sure it's not falling down around your ears. But these things that people get completely torqued out about are where you find your bargains. What you don't buy is what we said earlier, a house that's ugly. If it's got bad bones and it's ugly from the street, don't buy it. It's not going to get prettier. And it's not paint color. We're talking the way it's built. That house should not have been on that lot. It's poorly designed. It's got the wrong columns. It's got the wrong front porch, the wrong elevation. It just looks like crap. And you know what? It's going to look like crap the whole time you live there. And when you get ready to sell it, it's still going to look like crap. People are going to stand in the street and go, that's the ugly house. And they're going to want a discount. A deep discount. You thought you got a bargain, but you're going to turn around and give somebody else a bargain to get rid of it. I've owned a couple of those. They're bad news. Don't do that. And the same thing's true with a bad floor plan. Some of these people, they do what we call country house. They keep adding on rooms, and there's no architecture. And so you end up walking through 2 bedrooms to get to a bathroom and all this crap, and it's just got bad walls. The thing is just pieced together. It's like, we'll bolt this on here, we'll bolt this on here. Like a bunch of people drank 2 cases of beer and then came up with an idea on how they're going to add on to the house. It's a bad idea. So don't get into that. Use good real estate agents. They're worth their money. Use a home inspector. Always get an appraisal. And always buy title insurance. Never buy a property without title insurance. It's worth every dime. There's a couple of pointers for your real estate class for the day. Right here on The Dave Ramsey Show.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the subscribe button to get the latest content and check out these other great clips from the show.